Well, good morning, everyone. Today with us, we have Erica Sestock from Adesso, one of our partners here at the Washington Hospitality Association. We're also joined by Ken Wells, our Director of Business Development here at the Washington Hospitality Association. Today, we're going to talk about the gratuity tax credit and how you can take advantage of that if you have tipped employees. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A. As soon as we're done with the presentation, we will answer those on air. And that's down at the bottom of your screen if you're curious about that. We are recording this, and if you miss anything, we will have it up on our website later on this afternoon. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Erica. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your time today. My name is Erica. As Lisa mentioned, I'm the partnerships manager here at Adesso Capital. And today we'll be taking you through an educational session on our gratuity tax credit program, which will include some technical information, how to determine eligibility, what our process is like, and then some things that set us apart from other tax experts. We'll also save some time at the end for some questions. So let's get into it. A little history on Adesso for those of you that aren't familiar. We have been helping small business owners since 2007 access funds that they need to operate and succeed. We specialize in unique financial challenges that come with owning a small business and with solutions and services that really help you thrive. That is our goal. With over $1 billion in funding secured, we really pride ourselves in working relentlessly to keep your business in business. We have a team of financial specialists, CPAs, and legal experts that are equipped to serve every industry sector, but we prioritize the 99% of the country's business population, which are defined as small and independent businesses, and also specializing in hospitality. So we like to say, which is kind of corny, but our vision is your mission. Our newest program, what we're here to talk about today, is entirely focused on the hospitality industry. Restaurant and bar owners can reduce their federal tax liability by claiming a credit that is called FICA, which stands for Federal Insurance Contributions Act. This program also includes Medicare taxes that are paid on tips reported by their employees. And to give you a little sense or understanding of tax bill and how that works, in an ideal world, the employer portion of employment taxes due on tip income would somehow be paid by those who leave the tips, right? After all, they're the actual ones that are compensating the server for the work. But since there's no reasonable way to make that happen, the law assigns the responsibility for the employer portion of employment taxes on tip income to the restaurant owner and operator. So these dollars through the FICA tax credit can be reclaimed as a tax credit, with the average customer that we're seeing is receiving an additional $40,000 in tax credits each year. In some instances, our clients have been able to receive an actual refund depending on their corporate entity and whether or not they have existing tax liabilities. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, again, FICA, tip credit is unique benefit for bars and restaurants that allows employers to claim a portion of the FICA taxes paid on employees' tips as a credit against their own tax liability. And the crazy thing that we've found is thousands of employers aren't really even aware that this even exists and may be missing out on these valuable tax savings. So that's why we're here today, to put together this program, promote it, and make sure that all of our partners in the hospitality industry are taking advantage of this. Another great note is you can also file for this retroactively up to 3 years. So since many folks haven't taken advantage of it at this point, they have the opportunity to receive an even higher amounts back in credit. Right now, we have found that we have the fastest and safest way to claim these essential credits, whether it's modernizing your delivery service, updating menu pricing, finally opening that second location. We're here to help you unlock those future business savings and new and creative ways that you can earn back dollars and put them towards your business. So, how is this all calculated? Taxes sound complex and scary, but we want to make it as easy as possible for you. So we do all of the calculations and collecting documents and take it from there. But to just give you the insight on how this is actually broken down, excuse me, most tip-driven employees earn an hourly wage below the federal minimum, right? Employers cannot receive a credit on reported tips that make up the difference between their hourly wage and the federal minimum wage. So, to determine creditable tips, the first thing that you would want to do is to take the total number of hours an employee works and multiply it by $5.15, which was the federal minimum wage when this was enacted by Congress in 2007, excuse me. Next, you would subtract their actual wages that were earned to determine the amount of tips that are not eligible, followed by subtracting the amount of ineligible tips from the total amount of tips reported, and multiply that by the creditable tip amount by the combined FICA and Medicare tax rate, which is currently 7.65%. Now, there are some additional caveats and some conditions to consider when calculating this, and that's definitely why we want you to work with somebody that has this experience and expertise. And I've listed out a few of those caveats for you here. The first being that the customer cannot be compelled to pay the tip. They must have the right to determine who receives the payment. For instance, if a service charge is applied to a bill for large parties or catering events, then that's shared among the servers. That's something that will generally not qualify as a tip, and that can be included in the creditable tip calculation. Another would be the FICA tip credit is included on the employer's tax return as a part of the general business tax credit, which is a non-refundable credit that can't be reduced or it can't reduce a tax liability below $0. And unused portions of this credit can be carried forward towards future years. The last example I have is the expense that a taxpayer claims for employer FICA taxes must be reduced by the amount of FICA tip credit claimed that year. So again, due to the level of these complexities, we definitely encourage you to seek out working with an expert. But in terms of qualifying or being eligible for this gratuity tax credit program that we've created, there are three main things that we look for. The first being a tip-driven business. So you own or operate a bar, restaurant, or other tip-driven business. You want to make sure that it's a tip-driven service. So your employees are providing a service that typically involves receiving tips from customers, such as serving or even delivering food. And then we need to make sure that the tips have been documented as wages. So they also have to have been documented with the appropriate FICA taxes that should have been paid on them. But those are the three basic things that we look for. And in terms of next steps in our process, once you contact one of our representatives, They will help you confirm eligibility. They'll help you gather the necessary documents that we look for to actually calculate the tip credit. And then we also have a CPA that will help you amend the returns and actually receive the credit. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you and take the scary complexities out of it. And to talk a little bit about what differentiates us, we have a team of experts, as I mentioned, that have created the fastest and easiest financial tool for restaurants and bar owners at this point. We're using custom technology to make the entire process as painless as possible while protecting your valuable time. And the result of that is freedom to do what you want to do and the things that drive your business forward. So we also specialize in restaurants. We have partnered with over 40 state restaurant and lodging associations at this point, including the Washington Hospitality Association that you are a part of here today. So we pride ourselves on really understanding the unique financial nuances of the industries. And with that, we understand all the caveats that this comes with, right? And helping you save time and correctly defining eligible costs, calculating your tax liabilities so that you can claim all of the credits. We also are very hands-on. So in this tech world, it is sometimes nice to still speak with a human and have your hand held through something. So our team of financial specialists, CPAs, legal experts, we're here to work with you every step of the way and help you with questions you may have, and making sure that we're setting you off to be successful. So this is the time where we'll take some questions, and I've also provided contact information here to get in touch with one of our sales representatives, and this will be sent out after the webinar, I'm assuming. But yeah, Lisa, if you are able to moderate some of those questions for me, that would be great.
Sure. In Washington State, our minimum wage is more than $16 an hour, much more than the federal minimum wage. Does this still apply?
Yes. So because this is a federal program, it doesn't, no matter what the state credit minimum wage is, that's okay. Going back to the calculation, you would actually subtract the federal minimum wage from the state, and that's how you would determine what portion of the tips that were reported would be eligible for that credit. So yes, at the state level, no matter the minimum wage, you'd still be eligible for this.
Okay. Is a service charge a taxable product here in Washington State?
That is a great question. I know there are different types of service charges or different add-ons to bills. I think service charges generally would not be applied to this instance. So this would not, the service charge would not be included as the creditable tip amount. We're
If we
looking
already,
at gratuity. Sorry, go ahead.
Ken, do you have something?
I was just gonna say, I think we can check with our GA. Don't believe it is taxable. I think that was the question.
Yeah.
But was we do a follow-up, Lisa, we can add that into our follow-up with whether it's taxable or not. I think we can get a clear answer from our government affairs department.
Awesome, thank you. If we already have an established relationship with a tax preparation service, would Adesso service offering be duplicate of that, or would it be complementary?
If you have a CPA, then this is something that, they would be able to help you with. In terms of determining quick eligibility, you can still reach out to one of our team members. They can tell you if you've already been claiming this. Because if you have someone else file your taxes for you, then maybe they are doing this for you, maybe they aren't. In many cases that we've found, the CPAs haven't been proactively doing this. So yes, if you get in contact with our team, we can give you a quick answer on your eligibility.
Well, Lisa, let me extend that question to the opposite of that, okay? So you guys are hospitality experts. You've done a lot of work with members on other credits as well, so you stay on top of the credits. However, do you provide the other CPA services? So if someone, I love my CPA, don't get me wrong, right? But obviously, if you guys provide additional CPA services and you stay on top of our industry credits, I mean, can you take a look at doing all my needs as a CPA as well? Is that something that you guys offer as part of your service?
It's not something that we offer directly, but we do have CPAs that we work with. So if you were to, use our services for this particular program, we would refer you to work with one of our CPAs. And I think depending on how that process goes, you could use them for additional services.
Okay. So you could refer us to our members, the CPAs that understand the credits and issues specifically with restaurants and lodging and et cetera. So okay, I wanted to understand that because I think sometimes we're concerned of the duplicate aspect of it, and what's the best way for us to stay on top of our industry as far as our overall CPA, because they just have different expertises out there, right? So I just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Absolutely, yes.
Once again, if you guys have questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A and we can answer them live. If there is a management company functioning as the operator on behalf of the restaurant owner, the management company often is registered employer, but the restaurant owner is still liable for all expenses, including payroll and payroll taxes. In that scenario, should the management company or restaurant owner file the Form 8846?
That is a great question. I'm going to have to take that one back, though. I think that's something that we would have to have one of our financial experts answer. I don't want to give you the wrong information. So if that's okay, could we take that one and follow up with it?
Yeah, I can get you a copy of all these.
I just want to suggest it's who's doing your filing, right? So the typical aspect on an ongoing basis might be that one who's already doing your filing, but there's no doubt that Adesso, you can do the initial filing for anything that is, I'm assuming, retro for 3 years back, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, we can definitely send you a copy of all these questions afterwards. If we have questions that you can't answer on air, we can get to the follow-up later.
Great.
Yeah. What is the fee for service, percentage of the deduction earned, and what is the percentage if so?
Yes, it is a percentage of the credit that is earned, which can vary, right? Depending on the size of your business, how many tips were reported for that year, how many years that we're actually looking back into, if we need to do that up to 3 years retroactively, that total amount can vary, but it is a percentage of the total credit.
If you have auto gratuity, are you not eligible?
Auto gratuity. That is a process that I'm not familiar with. I'm assuming that, and maybe I should ask this clarifying question first. If it's an instance where there are large parties sitting down for, eating at a table, you automatically add a 20% gratuity. Is that what you're asking? Or is there a different auto gratuity that I'm not?
So I think there's two types. One is that I do a banquet and I might have an auto gratuity of, let's say, of 18% or 20%. Service charges are very similar. I think that's part of the consulting that you guys do, is on that. The other part is maybe a choice. Like I have a choice of, I can make different choices, which is not mandating someone as far as the gratuity. So I think the question maybe is along whether it's mandated or not. It says auto gratuity, but it might.
Yeah. And that's where some of those caveats come into play. One of the conditions is the person that is paying or giving the tip must have the ability to choose who it goes to. So if it's being just automatic, and then later on maybe dispersed across a team of servers for a banquet or something, then that's something that's not eligible.
So
But
tip sharing, as you pointed out, where it's not specifically going to that individual employee, is 100% not eligible, even if you calculate or what you paid everyone and you track that, it doesn't make a difference. So if I'm doing tip sharing and I track what each employee is getting paid, that is not, my understanding based on the presentation is that wouldn't be counted into the program because it's not going specifically to that one person.
correct.
Okay.
Yes. But if you do have like questions whether or not like the way that you had reported tips based on service charges or auto gratuity, I still encourage you to reach out to us or another, tax expert, because they can give you the real answer, and going through your documents and files and determining whether or not you may be eligible for something versus maybe some of those tips. Like,
Yes.
if you're a large restaurant and you host large parties or private events, but you also do normal dinner service, some of the tips that you are getting may be eligible, but some of them for those private events may not be eligible, if that makes sense.
We have a relationship with a company called Tip Hoss, right, which does tip tracking and calculation and really has a nice system for reporting. I'm wondering if this would be a great scenario for those that do different type of tipping models, right? I have a shared model, I might have a service model, I might have, depends on what part of the business we're serving you under. A basically a technology, it's what kind of technology you might have can help this process of you potentially calculating your tips, basically. Okay. It actually calculating your tips and having tax savings might actually pay for that tip calculation software. So, okay.
Great.
This is somewhere along those lines. If a guest tips at the register and all tips are pooled and split amongst everyone, are you eligible?
So in that instance, like tip pooling would not be eligible. But I want to double check on that. I am not the financial expert. So I will follow up with that. As far as I know, like tipped pooling would fall under that condition of the person that is putting down the tip has to be able to choose who it's going to. So that would be one singular person. So I will follow up just to make sure I'm correct in saying that.
I have my own CPA. Can I just fill out Form 8846 for the past 3 years and have him submit it?
The answer is yes. Simple answer is yes. You can use your own CPA. Absolutely.
Okay.
And Jess Owen corrected us on the charge sales tax on service charges and any mandatory gratuity and taxes. So it is required from Jess Owen. Thank you, Jess.
Okay. And when you say percentage, is it closer to 2% or 50%?
Oh.
For
I was
the charge.
saying, yes. No, not 50% by any means. I believe it's 10%, between 10 and 15%.
And it says my servers tip out my bartender based on bar sales. Does that mean I cannot get the credit on tips earned by the bartender?
Sorry, I'm looking for that question.
It's at the bottom.
On bar sales, does that mean? That is another question that I'd like to take back to the team, if that's okay.
Yeah, we can make sure we put it up with on the website along with the video and your slides. Ken, do you have any more questions?
It looks like Luke says, so is Kenwell saying that tipped pooled tips would not qualify? Correct. That's what I'm saying. Customer is still choosing the tips in the tip pool, but unfortunately it would not. I do have a couple questions. So when you talk about, you pointed out the federal wage, you used 515 and based it because that's when the law was written. Is it based on the difference between 515 or the current federal minimum wage?
It's the 515.
Okay. Okay, so that would be adjusted. And then I think the other questions I have is shared separation of service, shared tips. I think you clarified that. So all declared tips would not necessarily work depending on if it's shared or not shared. And if there's any gray areas, I think, Erica, if you could get back to us on that so we can send that on to the members. I think the questions really come around the tip pooling, service charge, right? Shared tips, if they are, if there is room where that can be calculated, if it's how it's documented basically or tracked, I think would be very, very helpful. Let's see, I have a couple other questions that I have that I put down. I want to make sure that everything was asked. So you can go back 3 years. So you answered the one on additional record keeping. So record keeping in compliance, can you discuss a little bit about that?
Record keeping, and maybe you could
Stay
ask
in
me
compliance. What record keeping is needed to stay in compliance? I paid this employee X amount, and it's everything that is it what they have reported on for taxes, what the employees has reported to me and for tax and wages? Is that the record keeping piece?
I can follow up with the exact documents that are required, or the exact information that's needed, just so folks can be proactive with that. And I think that would help answer your question. I just don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then what happens if the credit is higher than the tax owed? There's different situations in taxes, right? And I get a credit. I currently don't owe taxes, but a credit is due to me. Do you know what happens in that case? Do I get a refund?
Yes. Typically, that credit could be applied to future filings, right? So in the event that you owe in future years, you can apply it. But there are situations where it could be turned into a refund, but it is contingent upon your corporate entity. So that's a situation where you definitely need to speak with a tax expert to understand whether or not you would be eligible for a refund versus a credit to be applied in future.
Okay, and then the cost for filing for the credit is just basically 10% of the credit. And so to fill out that form, I forgot the name of the form, but you could do that just separately for any member or any CPA out there that wants that assistance. Credit. I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else in addition. Lisa, did we get all the questions answered from our members?
Is this a CARES Act program, or is that over, or is this ongoing?
This is ongoing. Yeah, this is not related to COVID. This is not related to, I think some folks had gotten this confused with the employee retention credit, which is a big part of our relationship previously and how we helped your members in filing for that. But this is something that's completely different. There is no deadline for it, or it doesn't run out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, there are deadlines for your tax years and filings and whatnot, but this is ongoing.
My servers and bartenders are tipped out directly. However, if they volunteer tip out to support staff, these tips are going into a pool and are distributed to them through their paychecks. So would that allow the employer to claim the server and bartenders?
That if it's being distributed and reported on their paychecks, that's the piece that I want to clarify, because you're still paying those FICA and Medicare taxes. And that's the portion that should be reclaimed, but because it's being pooled, that's the piece that I want to clarify with one of our experts on.
All right. Any
Good
last?
CPA question.
Yeah.
A great CPA question. And so just also, this is eligible in Washington because this is a federal program, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I had, Lisa. Erica, we appreciate this presentation. This is really good for our members. I think that if I'm doing different tax models, I might consider the savings of changing how I'm doing my tax models, tip model, right? Gratuity model. Because obviously part of that I could claim and part of that I might not be able to claim. So it's how that is tracked. And we do have resources to help you with that if you need a tracking mechanism. But this is a great opportunity for a lot of our members do not know that this tax credit is available. So I would just want to say we appreciate the fact that Adesso has brought this attention to the association and to our members, and look forward to our members taking advantage of a tax opportunity that's been out there for a long time. So many of us have missed this on the federal level, and we can now participate and lower our tax burden. So I just want to say thank you very much, and we greatly appreciate the service.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any last words, Erica?
Just thank you for your time today. I hope this was educational. If you have questions, I will provide my contact information. You can email me directly, but of course, if you have more technical questions, our team is the best to reach out to. So happy to help however we can.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to our audience today for coming and listening. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.